freedom to shape our lives without guilt or fear, liberty of opinion and of belief, to live as we want, with who we want, to live without the intrusion of other people's so-called moral objections. We like liberty, and as a general rule, people find it hard to give it up once they've got it. But liberty is not unencumbered. We think about other people and about other people's liberty, and that is what makes us responsible citizens. We live in a busy society, pluralistic, crisscrossed with different knowledge and different beliefs. And in a society like this, there is something more important than my liberty or your liberty, and that is liberalism. Liberalism is the rules of the playground in which we all play together. Now, right since Locke and Jefferson, Paine and Mill, one of the keys to liberalism is secularism. Here's three things that I like to say sometimes. There's probably no God. Value comes from humanity, not from divinity. Heaven sounds boring. Saying these things doesn't make me a secularist. Saying that I have the right to say these things is what makes me a secularist. That no church or state like against my humanism, that's what makes me a secularist. Secularism is not about criticizing religious belief, but sure as hell it's about saying that we have the right to do it. Secularism is not about taking away freedom of religious belief. It is about freedom from other people's religious beliefs. Secularism is not atheism. Atheism is just one of the views that we must be free to assert in a liberated, secular society. Others are going to talk to you about some of the ways in which we failed to uphold liberal, secular principles, and we'll explain why Italy is perhaps the foremost example of that. But to start out, let's look at something of a big picture. Because if liberalism isn't just about my liberty or your liberty, it's not just about Great Britain and Europe either. We must think about how we affect the whole world when our laws turn bad. If we make those compromises of integrity, great and small, will our hypocrisy stop us being able to change things for the better elsewhere? Just as we have to doubt our own census figures, we can probably doubt that 96% of the population of Pakistan really are practicing, believing Muslims all the time. And yet, that is the official figure. And yet, for some reason, Pakistan seems that it's necessary to protect the beliefs of 96% of the population with blasphemy laws. Defiling the Quran means life imprisonment. Defaming the Prophet Muhammad merits death. It's not uncommon for someone accused of blasphemy to be murdered. The state routinely leaves attacks on alleged blasphemers unpunished. In August last year, in the town of Gorja, dozens of homes were torched and 6 members of a Christian family, the Hamids, were burned alive in their home because someone else was rumoured to have cut up a Quran nearby, in some versions to make decorations for a wedding. A mob, some hundreds or thousands of people strong, burned multiple homes using blasphemy as the excuse. When the world comes together to criticize a country for its flippant attitude towards the protection of minorities, when nation states communicate their dismay that blasphemy law is being used and abused to incite violence and murder, who here thinks it's a good idea for other countries to decide to enact brand new blasphemy laws of their own?
Shame.
What direction was Ireland tugging the cords in when over the summer it pushed through a law against blasphemy? The new Irish blasphemy law defines the heinous crime like this: publishing or uttering matter that is grossly offensive or abusive. To lots of different people, insulting in relation to matters sacred by any religion, intentionally causing outrage among a substantial number of adherents of that religion. They say there are some defences permitted. It's one small concession to modernity. But apparently defences like, this law is stupid, unprincipled and wide open to abuse, won't be accepted in and of themselves. In Brazil, in 2009, a 9-year-old girl who'd been sexually abused by her stepfather for 3 years was raped, made pregnant, and carrying the twins to term would likely kill her. What would you do? There is an exception to the Brazilian law against abortion in cases of rape when the mother's life is threatened, both of which applied in the case of the 9-year-old girl last year. Nevertheless, the Archbishop José Cardoso Sobrinho saw fit to denounce and excommunicate the girl's family, including her distraught mother, as well as the doctors who operated on her. The Vatican was a little taken aback at the widespread revulsion brought about by Sobrinho's shot-from-the-hip excommunications. But the Vatican has a huge hold over Brazil, where most abortion is illegal and birth control is discouraged. As a result, around 1 million illegal abortions are carried out in Brazil every year. For the poor, they take place in less than sanitary conditions, and according to Brazil's own health ministry, more than 200,000 Brazilian women are treated in public hospitals every year for complications arising from abortion attempts. NGOs fighting to give women more say over their health and reproductive rights rankle at the Church's continued sway over the law, but are trapped in a political gridlock with the Church. Aside from the pure numbers of Catholics in Brazil, how does the Vatican maintain its grip? One method is the Concordat, a treaty between the Holy See and a nation-state, giving special privileges and exemptions to Catholic institutions within foreign countries. President Lula da Silva of Brazil refused to sign a Concordat when Ratzinger visited the country in 2007. Hey. Despite papal wishes, Lula cited the principle of separation of church and state as his reason for not signing. Nevertheless, by 2008, his resolve had weakened, and Lula signed the Concordat. He was probably buying the allegiance of Catholic MPs so he could push through other legislation before the term ended. The Concordat gives some very significant privileges to Catholic institutions within Brazil. It effectively imports canon law into the Brazilian legislature. Why London for a secular Europe? Of the 27 countries of the European Union, 15 are bound to the Vatican by at least one Concordat. Germany, Austria, Spain, Portugal, Luxembourg, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Malta, Poland, Slovakia, Slovenia, Italy, of course, and, get this, there are at least 3 Concordats signed with France. How much easier will it be for a future President Lula struggling to balance Vatican demands against the health and happiness of his society to refuse these predatory treaties if only a few other countries would overturn their anti-secular concordats? Why aren't European countries refusing to sign new concordats, standing up for their sovereignty in the face of thinly veiled threats that the Vatican will turn the Catholic electorate against them? There is only one answer: cowardice and hypocrisy. Uganda, 2009. In October last year, the Ugandan MP David Bahati put forward a private member's bill blaming gay people for the spread of AIDS in Africa and proposing a death penalty for aggravated homosexuality. All sexual acts between people of the same sex are already illegal in Uganda at all times and places. The anti-homosexuality bill introduces more crimes and makes the punishments worse. This is only half the story. It will be, quote, every citizen's duty under the new laws to denounce friends, family or acquaintances they suspect of being gay. Within 24 hours of the bill being passed, it will be unlawful to remain silent if you suspect someone you know of being gay. This is the classic recipe for a no-holds-barred, neighbour against neighbour witch hunt of appalling proportions. So, in response to international criticism of the bill, Uganda's James Baturo, Minister for Ethics and Integrity, said, "We now think life sentence could be better than death because it gives room for offenders to be rehabilitated. Killing them might not be helpful." Minister for Ethics and Integrity, killing them might not be helpful. By the way, the death penalty is still on the cards, and they are voting on this legislation in the next few weeks. A couple of other classic quotes from James Baturo, Minister for Ethics and Integrity, by the way. In response to criticism of the bill, he said, "We are really getting tired of this phrase, human rights." And describing why he backed the bill, he said it was an opportunity for Uganda to provide leadership where it matters most.